Hello, and welcome to MCF Tech's online video training program. Today's lesson will be an introduction to MCF Tech's Golden Gantt. Many of you who are familiar with project management have probably used similar tools in the past, such as MS Project, etc. The difference between these conventional desktop platforms and MCF Tech's Golden Gantt is that we provide direct access to your project data in QuickBase, giving you real-time collaboration, while at the same time providing robust features typically not available in an online platform. Today, we'll go over the basics that you'll discover in the Golden Gantt, such as launching the Gantt from a project inside of QuickBase, an explanation for checking in and checking out a project with the Gantt, how to add your first task to your project inside the Golden Gantt, how to save a project, and how to close one. I've brought up our Golden Gantt application inside of QuickBase. You may notice that the application looks similar to your project management application. The same typical tables that provide our architecture for the Gantt will also be inside of your application. It may have different names, but you should essentially have a projects table, a tasks table, resources, dependencies, and task assignments. Now, in order to launch the Gantt, you'll have to choose the Launch Gantt button from inside the appropriate project inside of QuickBase. In this case, we have our main report, which allows me to launch my project Gantts directly from the homepage by clicking Launch Gantt on the appropriate project. We can also click inside of a project record, and as you can see, we have the Launch Gantt button here as well. So once I launch this Gantt, you'll see that the same project will open up here. We have our Golden Gantt project. This is a project that was just created, so there are no tasks. It's essentially a clean slate. An important item to note here is that only one person can have the Gantt checked out at a time. This is to eliminate multiple people using the Gantt and having data that's not up to date. So what that means essentially is now that I have checked this Gantt out, it's no longer available inside of the project record to check out. For example, if I were to launch this Gantt again from like a favorites menu, I simply pasted the link in here, I will get an error pop-up message that lets me know that I still have the Golden Gantt open for this particular project in another window. If for some reason the Gantt was just simply not checked back in, or you have it open in another window, this will give you the opportunity to make the appropriate decision. Because I have the Gantt open already in another window, I will simply click Cancel, and this will redirect me back to the projects table inside of QuickBase. If, however, I did want to use this particular window to launch my Gantt, I could click Unlock Gantt, and this would now be my standard Gantt that I can work from. So clicking Cancel will redirect me back to our Golden Gantt project inside of QuickBase. You'll notice that my Launch Gantt button is actually not available. Instead, we have a message here that the Golden Gantt is currently checked out by Lauren Miller. That's myself. Please try back later or contact this user for more information. Again, this is simply in place so that you do not overwrite your own data or, other collaborators won't access the Gantt thinking that they have the most up-to-date data when they do not. So moving back into our user interface inside the Golden Gantt here for our project, you'll see that we have our project name listed at the top. Right now, our information is pretty blank because we haven't added any tasks yet. The first thing that you'll need to do is select the project here. Simply single click on it and you'll see that it gets highlighted. What that does is make available this plus sign, which is how we add our initial task inside the Gantt. You can see that our task record has now been added underneath the project. To change the name, we simply double click and type in our appropriate name. In this case, we'll simply do task 1. We can select a start date and we can select a finish date. We will go more into this details on entering your task information and our basic operations and basic scheduling lessons later on. Now that we've made some changes inside of our project, we'll probably want to save them. It's important to note that anything that you do inside of a session, inside the Golden Gantt, does not get updated to QuickBase until you click the Save icon here in the upper right hand of your screen. Doing so, you'll see a Please Wait icon while the data is saved back to QuickBase. Once that's no longer on your screen, that means your data has been saved, unless there's a problem, in which case you will get a pop-up indicating that there was an issue. Now, in order to check the Gantt back in to QuickBase so that other users can use it, you simply hit the X icon here. What this does is close down our Golden Gantt interface and takes you back to the project record that you launched this Gantt from. It's also important to note that if you X out of this Golden Gantt without saving your changes, that the changes will not get updated to QuickBase. This model basically provides you what-if scenarios and allows you to make changes until you're satisfied, and then you can save those and update QuickBase. It's also important to note that if you were to close out of the browser window here by clicking our X through our, in this case, Google Chrome, the Gantt will not get checked back in. That means that you'll either require an administrator or the person who's checked out the Gantt last will have to go in and unlock the project so the Gantt can be launched. So to show you an example, I'm going to exit out of the window that has our Gantt UI here without clicking our close button inside of the UI. Now, when I'm at our project in QuickBase, you can see that the Gantt is currently checked out by myself. And if I scroll down, in this case, in our administrator section, there is an Unlock Gantt button. Once that button is clicked, the Gantt will be checked back in, and anyone will be able to launch the Gantt for that project that has the permissions to do so. It is important to note that the only people who can unlock a Gantt in this way are the person who has that particular Gantt checked out or someone with admin credentials. Now, if I relaunch the Gantt, we can see that if I add another task, for example, we'll call this task 2, and I click our Checkout Close button here without clicking our Save, that this change will not get reflected inside the QuickBase record. So again, I'm simply going to close the Gantt and check it back in. So once we've checked our Gantt back in, you'll see if I scroll down to the Tasks section that our Task 1, which we created in a previous session, is still here in our task, but Task 2 that we created without actually saving the Gantt does not appear. This concludes our introductory lesson for today. I hope this was helpful. In our next lesson, we're going to be discussing basic navigation. That will mainly include our table header bars inside the Gantt, so what all these buttons here mean and how to use them. We'll also give you some basic abilities to add and remove tasks and create subtasks. Once again, thank you for your time.